Welcome to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. We are here for Chemist Warehouse. Head into Chemist Warehouse for great savings every day. Subscribe for the Captain's Run at Apple, Spotify, or where all good podcasts are downloaded. Now, I'm sure there are going to be 1,000 texts. 0457 736 736. Give us a text, 0457 736 736. We've got huge news to talk about. Reece Walsh suspension, origin selections, Dragons denying Benny Hunt's release. We've got Desi Hasler to the Titans, signing spree at the Seagulls. It does not stop in rugby league, but I've got the great Smithers on the line. Smithy.
Kempy, how are we, mate?
Oh, mate, look.
Great to be on the show again. Hello to all of our listeners, our loyal listeners, to the Captain's Run. I'll tell you what, the text line may just blow up today. It possibly could.
I honestly think it might.
With all the things happening in rugby league, what a week.
Mate.
What a week. And obviously, last night with the Walsh thing, I don't know, are we jumping into that? What are we doing? Are we jumping into that straight away?
Tommy, he's put the thumbs up. He honestly walked into work today with a smile from ear to ear. Roosters fan, stoked that a Broncos player is out. That's all reportedly, of course, allegedly. Don't pin me on it. But now, let's get into it. Reece Walsh has been suspended for 3 weeks after being found guilty of contrary conduct. Now, what he was found guilty of was swearing at a referee. But there is just honestly, one of the most polarizing. This is honestly probably the most polarizing since Billy to the grand final for me. Like on the internet, it was either one or the other. He said it to Paddy or he didn't say it to Paddy. He said it to the ref. Smithers, what are your thoughts about the whole situation?
Oh, well, it was a bit of a circus, really, wasn't it? That's the way I sum it all up. Like the last night, and the length of the hearing. Goodness me, to decide whether someone spoke to one individual or the other. Like, what was it? 6 hours all up? Was it 6 hours?
Mate, it's
I think he walked in at 6, and it was around midnight when we got the sort of verdict on the suspension. But look, I don't know. Look. First and foremost, do you want to see players carrying on that way on the field? No, we don't. Are there expletives used on the field? Yes, there is. Every game you play, there's expletives used. You hear it, you pick it up on the audio, the broadcaster's audio every game. You and I both know we've been out in the footy field, and it happens at a lot of levels. A lot of levels. You don't want to see it used in the junior grades, of course, but in the more senior grades and of course the NRL, like there's expletives used every day of the week. There is. Is swearing at a referee a good thing? No, it's not. We don't want to see that happen. But at the end of the day, did he actually direct it at the referee? And that's the thing. Like, it's a very divisive decision. Well, sort of subject at the moment. And half the people are saying no, he was speaking to his teammate, and the other half are saying no, he was directing it at the referee. At the end of the day, there's 2 people that know. It's Reece Walsh, and he said, I didn't speak to the referee. I didn't direct that to the referee. And it's the referee. And what was the report that Chris Butler put in? Referee post-game.
So post-game, the report that he put in, basically that he, got it here, he marched for 10 metres over the obstruction penalty due to Walsh's body language, and he admitted that he didn't hear what the 20-year-old said.
Right. So, which then, going off that evidence from the referee, who has come out and he stated that he was unaware of what Reece said. So what's he being punished for? Poor body language, aggressive body language.
I mean,
yeah, I don't know. What's your take on the whole thing, mate?
Mate, look, I think, and this might sound a bit bizarre as a former Bronco and a Broncos fan, I think it's one of the best things that could happen for Reece right now in regards to the longevity of his career. I think that it's a really line in the sand moment for him of like, Reece, you are a superstar and you're an emotional player, but you need to mature and regulate your emotion. So from that perspective, I'm not worried about the Broncos. I'm not worried about Queensland. Yes, he is a loss. He's a superstar. He plays incredibly well in Origin and for the Broncos. But There's plenty of people that can back up for him Origin. There's plenty of people that can back up for him at the Broncos.
Yep.
Tristan, Selwyn, Herbie, the list goes on. So I'm not concerned about that. And as I said, from a career perspective, even though you don't like seeing him on sidelines, I think it's going to teach him a lot about being a professional athlete. What my concern is, Smithy, is the process of it all. Now, look, I'm not the sharpest tool in the head. And you can, look, I'm going to put my lawyer hat on for a second. Listeners, you can call me Lawyer Beak if you want. What I don't understand is the ref has admitted he didn't hear or see it.
Yep.
2 witnesses, so Fafita and Carrigan, said that he was speaking to Paddy Carrigan.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Reynolds also came out and said he wasn't speaking to the ref. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of people that are going to say, oh, they're his mates. They're just covering for him. I think that you got to give, I think you're not giving players enough respect for their integrity. As if Paddy Carrigan wants to be seen as a liar to the entire state when he has, I'd assume, hopes of being the captain of the of Queensland and potentially even Australia.
Yeah.
And so what I'm not understanding is what evidence was used to say that he did swear at the referee? Do they have cameras that can see where Reece Walsh's eyes exactly were looking?
Mm-hmm.
The only evidence they have is he swore in the vicinity of the ref, but Paddy Carrigan was closer. Paddy Carrigan also...
He was in between them.
Exactly. And he also did say something because you can see him say it. And so, as I said, I'm not concerned about the, Reece Walsh and Queensland, Brisbane. I think it's good for his career. I think he'll learn a lot from it. But I'm just not understanding the process they came to this conclusion. It does not make sense to me.
Yeah, and that's the most bizarre thing. So the referee has come out and said he's unsure of what was said. He's unaware of if it was even directed towards him. He didn't even know the exact words that were used. So it's not like the referee turns around and says, he spoke to me in a manner and used these words. And that's pretty black and white. That's clear cut. Okay? Like, if the referee states that and it goes to the judiciary and there it is right in front of them, well, it's black and white. You can't talk like that to a referee. You're suspended. Having Reece Walsh deny the fact that he did, and he was saying that to Pat Carrigan. Pat Carrigan then also said he was talking to me. He had others there, to back up those claims as well. The most bizarre thing for me is the length of the hearing.
Yeah.
Like for a judiciary panel to take 4 hours to decide whether a person said something to someone, to me, that says there's a lot of doubt.
Yeah.
There is a lot of doubt. And, for Reece Walsh now, that's cost him, a State of Origin game, as well as multiple games for the Broncos. Now, when there's so much doubt involved, that's a heavy price to pay.
Yeah.
For a group of people to deliberate for 4 hours on whether someone said something to another person or not, and they're that unsure, it's pretty. Yeah, it's incredible how a player is now paying the price for something that had so much doubt about whether he did it or not. Now, you and I are certainly not condoning that behaviour, and hence, why you said this will be a good thing for Reece Walsh. Is that type of carry on the field, is that a good look? No, it's not. I think he could have handled himself a lot better than what he did. And talking that way to one of your teammates, particularly your captain, that's, to me, that's not on either. So I think he will learn from this. But, to suspend a guy for 3 games and to miss a State of Origin when there's so much doubt over whether he's guilty of what he was charged for or not, to me, that's the thing that I struggle to get my head around.
Yeah, I'm the same. And I think that you take aside the suspension, you take aside if he was talking to Paddy or not talking to Paddy, you shouldn't talk to your captain like that. You shouldn't talk to any player like that. So I guess even though I don't believe he deserves 3 weeks, unfortunately for Reece, his actions got him here. It wasn't anyone else's actions that created this environment that would get a chance of being suspended. You know, if he doesn't rush in and be as emotional as he was, he wouldn't have been suspended. So it's a tough lesson to learn for Reece, and it's, you know, it's a tough lesson to learn, but at the same time, it's going to make him a better player in the long term. On top of that, what I don't get as well is, like, he immediately ran to the ref and said, I was speaking to Paddy, like, straight away.
Yeah.
Now, look, Reece, lovely bloke, love him. He's so good to watch. But he's not an evil genius. He's not like thinking in a split second, going, oh my God, I might be suspended, and I'm going to create a story immediately.
Yep.
And so another thing that is a bit concerning is the consistency. So, you know, earlier in the year, before game one, Jerome Luai pushed the ref, and then he ran straight across and apologised because he thought it was a player and it was a mistake, which I think was fair. Because we gave Jerome Luai the benefit of the doubt and said, oh, okay. So what I'm not understanding is, why wasn't Reece Walsh accorded the same benefit of the doubt in this situation?
Yeah, and I think that's another question that's been raised, is the consistency around behaviour or treatment of our officials, where it was only, 4 weeks ago that Jerome Luai put a hand on an official and was fined. Wasn't suspended. We all know that that's a no-no. You can't do that. So I think that's the question I think people are asking out of this too, was like, well, hang on a minute. Like, okay, well, so if you can't speak to a referee that way, why can you put hands on an official? Like, every player knows that's a big no-no. Every player knows that's a big no-no. And I've seen comments from, this is an anti-New South Wales thing, like, because Kempy and I are Queenslanders. I've seen comments from people that are New South Welshmen saying that was wrong. They got that wrong. Like, that should have been a suspension. The Luai touch of an official, that should have been a suspension, whether it be, 1 game, 2, whatever it was, it should have been a suspension. So why are we getting that wrong? Why are we, as you said, Kempy, why are we giving a player some leniency there to say, oh, look, it wasn't intended. There was no intent in it. It was just a simple mistake. And then now, with the Walsh thing, which there's so much doubt in it. That's the thing I keep coming back to. If it was clear cut, he should have walked into that room when he was referred straight to the judiciary. If it was so clear cut, he should have walked in, pled his case for 30 minutes, heard the other side, and they should have just gone, nah, mate, you're guilty.
Yeah.
We all know it. You looked at the referee. You said what you said. You can't do it. 3 weeks.
Well, mate,
That should have been done and dusted in an hour, max.
Mate, I'll go even further. If it was clear cut, I reckon 3 weeks is not long enough.
Yeah.
I'm as I said, biggest Reece Walsh fan there is, but I think that if it's clear cut, he should have got longer. You can't speak to a ref like that.
And should have been sin binned or sent off the field, mate, in that moment.
Send off straight away. So I'm just, as I said, I'm really just confused about the process of how they came to their conclusion. But Reece has got to be better. He's got to be better.
Absolutely.
With superstardom, and Smith, you can, I know you would never consider yourself, speak of yourself this way, and you can speak much better on this, but when you're a superstar like Reece Walsh, that comes with a responsibility, whether you like it or not. There are kids watching that look up to you, that just want to be you, and he needs to make sure that he's aware of that at all times. He may not like it, and he may not say, I don't want to be a role model. That's besides the point. You are a role model, and you need to act like it on the field, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It absolutely does. And I think he made comment after leaving the judiciary last night that, he said he's let a few people down, particularly the young kids that look up to him. He's aware of, his presence in the game and in the public. He's aware of that. I've seen that firsthand in the Queensland camps. He knows what he means to, young kids out there, both boys and girls that look after him. He's a superstar, Kempy. He's a superstar. Our main training session with the Maroons in Game 2, we would have had, I don't know, maybe 500 people turn out to our Saturday session. And as soon as the boys finished training and they went around and, said good day to all the fans and got photos and signatures and whatnot, nearly every single person there, every single child, that they wanted to see Reece.
Yeah.
They wanted to see Reece. So he knows exactly, what he means to, the youngsters coming through that are fans of rugby league and, they're big Reece Walsh fans. He knows exactly, where he's at in the game at the moment. I just hope that, the achievements that he's been a part of over the last couple of weeks. Obviously Broncos doing well. They're sitting high up on the ladder, but particularly with Origin, I hope he hasn't got carried away with that. I really hope he hasn't, because it's not the type of person, it's not the guy that I've seen around Origin camp in the first 2 games. He's a very humble young man that just goes about his business, and he works hard, and he loves being a part of the group. Doesn't think he's better than anyone else in there, and he's actually quite a quiet fella in camp. But on the weekend he looked a little bit frustrated, and as I said, if that comment was directed at Pat Garrigan, which he said it was, well, mate, like, that's a lack of respect for your captain as well. Like, that's your skipper.
Yeah.
Like, you don't talk to your captain that way. He's got 3 weeks now to spend, to learn about that and understand that and get that around his head. That type of behaviour, it's not on.
Yeah. Yeah. Regardless of whether you think he was speaking to Paddy, the ref, or whatever, that's that type of behaviour cannot, you just can't do it. You can't do it. You've got to be better than that. What's even, more strange is the judiciary reportedly was a split decision. So that's even more.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's what I mean. So it's 4 hours, and there was a split decision, and I think the judiciary chairman had to step in, and he had the casting vote on what happened. So, that's what I'm saying about how much doubt there was over who he spoke to. There was they couldn't decide. The 2 judiciary members could not decide whether he's right or wrong. And then so it was really just one person said, well, you know what? I think you did say it to him. So now you've got 3 weeks, and it takes him out of an Origin. So big call.
Yeah.
Big call in the end. But hey, guess what? It is what it is. He's accepted it. And we all move on. And as you said, I think he's let the 2 teams he's representing at the moment down, but luckily for both of those teams, they've got players that can cover that position.
Let's have a quick injury wrap thanks to Victor School and Sports Club Supplies. Visit victorsports.com.au. What do you got, Smithers?
Yeah, we got a few, unfortunately, this week. Kempy, Egan Butcher, Moses Sully, both out with concussion. Angus Crichton, knee issue, 4 weeks for the Chookies, Tom.
Ouch.
Oh, Tommy, he's just shaking his head. He's got nothing for us at the moment. Satili Tupanua, bulging disc in the neck. So that's, oh, geez, wow, that's him for the season. Some further bad news there. Tommy Flegler. So he's got an issue with his Liz Frank, as does Jordan Ricky. Ricky's out for 8 weeks. Flegler's in a moon boot, so he's saying sort of maybe a fortnight to a month, Kempy. So that rules Flegler out of Game 3, State of Origin. Bit of work for Billy Slater there to make a couple of changes to the Queensland side. Josh Papali'i, hamstring, 2 weeks. Dane Gagai, foot. We got to find out how long that will keep him out for. Some issues there for Dane. And Tommy Trebojevic, of course, out of Origin 2 in Brisbane. He tore his pec, unfortunately. Just bad news continuing for Turbo. He is out for the season, Kempy.
Oh, mate. Honestly, the poor bloke cannot catch a trick. Victor School and Sports Club Supply, supplying schools and sport throughout Australia. Visit victorsports.com.au. After the break, we got plenty more to talk about. Desi to the Titans. We got Seagulls signing spree. Plus, we got 1,000 abusive messages to get through. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Captain's Run. Now, bloke jumpers, brand new bloke jumpers dropping 6 p.m. this coming Monday. Got a petrol blue colour and got a creamy with a tinge of yellow colours we've never done before. They're absolutely, if you want to look as good as I'm looking right now, which is, look, I've gone from a 4 out of 10 to maybe a 5. If you want to get a point, get a bloke jumper Monday 6 p.m. at bloke.shop. Don't miss out. We've got very, very limited supply. We've gone smaller numbers this time because there are such unique and we've never done these colours before, but let's get into it. Now, obviously, we talked about Reece Walsh missing Game 3.
Yep.
Smithy, who are the people in line to get that fullback spot?
Well, the obvious contenders are Kalen Ponga, who's playing some great football at the moment for the Knights. Sat out of the first 2 games, but since the Origin series started, he's been playing one, and going back to his favoured position has made a world of difference to his performances. He's playing, some great football once again. So Caelan's obviously won. Queensland's I reckon he's the most influential player in the series last year and had an outstanding game 3. So he's in line, of course. AJ Brimson, 18th man for Queensland in game 2. Had some injury issues this year, but, over the last couple of weeks has been very good for the Titans. Got the Hammer playing in the centres currently for Queensland, of course, fullback for the Dolphins. His name was tossed about even leading into game 1 about possibly playing in the 1 jersey. And as a little schmokey, because I know you like schmokies, Kempy.
Love it.
Cam Munster.
Oh, I love
Could he
it.
transition to the 1 jersey and you bring in someone like a Tom Dearden who played 6 for the Maroons in game 3 last year? They're the options in front of Billy Slater. And I'll tell you what, for this to happen and for the coach to have this, pretty crucial decision to make who wears the number 1 jersey and him being possibly the best number 1 that's ever played the game, I think the team and the state are in pretty capable hands that he'll make the right choice.
Oh, mate, absolutely. I love the Cam Munster call because now, look, I think if I was a coach, now I'm no longer a lawyer, I'm an Origin coach, Smitty.
Yep.
If I was an Origin coach, it just depends on obviously you want to go 3-0. You want to go 3-0.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if there's an opportunity to get more game time into Dearden, who looks at this point the next guy up if a half goes down.
Yeah.
I do really like getting him more game time and just getting him on the field, getting him more used to Origin and potentially putting Munster at fullback. Because it's a game 3, I think you get, as I said, you want a clean sweep if you're a Queensland, no denying. But I do think it gives you a little bit more room to go, 2 birds with 1 stone. We're building for the future, but at the same time, we know Dearden get the job done because he did it last year, game 3, Suncorp.
Yeah, that's right. And he wasn't overawed at all. He was a part of that entire series. So he was 18th man for game 1, game 2. Was 18th man for game 3 right up until about 3 days before the game when Cam Munster come down with COVID and was ruled out with Murray Taulagi. I guess the decision that Bill has to make is, do you make 2 changes to your lineup for 1 person, as in Walsh out, and then you move Munster from 6 to 1 and then bring in Tom Dearden into that position? Or do you leave your halves pairing settled? I thought they both Munster and Cherry Evans performed extremely well in game 2. And then just bring in a guy that straight swap, a straight replacement for Reece Walsh, someone like, Caelan Ponga or AJ Brimson. I think that's the question that Billy has to answer is, okay, do I just do a straight swap, keep the 6 and 7 as it is, or do I make multiple changes just for the 1 guy?
Oh, look, and we know Brimo can do it. He played fantastic a couple of years ago, 2020, when he made his debut at fullback over there, right. I think at Perth or Adelaide. But the ironic thing about the Hammer is I actually think he's played too well at centre to move.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is exactly right. Like, he's playing out of position from what we see him week to week with the Dolphins. But I'd go as far to say as he's possibly been the best centre in Origin in the Origin series this year.
Yeah.
Especially defensively.
Mate,
he's been so strong.
He's only missed 1 tackle of 40 tackles or something like that.
Yeah. So he's been remarkable. So, do you take the guy out of that position where he's so confident at the moment? He's got a great relationship in the position that he's playing with the guys around him. That's the point I'm making about, do you disrupt the lineup and the connection that these players have with each other? I don't know. If it was me, I'd just go a straight swap with someone to come straight in and play fullback. So that would be a Ponga or Brimson.
Now, the Ponga situation is interesting because didn't he text Billy and say, basically, I just need to focus on club footy for this series?
Yeah, I'm not too sure on the conversation that those guys had. I know Billy spoke to him before the series, before game one, and remember he had that head knock. He got knocked out in the game before the first match, playing for Newcastle. So I believe he was in line to wear the number 1 for the Maroons, even though he's playing 5'8" all the way up until that point. But I think when Billy had the conversation with KP, I think what Billy said was, mate, look, I think it's best that you don't play this game, given the concussion, the head knock that you've just received. It wasn't the first of the season, and I think Kalen was of the same thought as Billy. He thought it was best that he didn't play in game 1. I'm not too sure whether Kalen ruled himself out of the entire series or not. I'm absolutely 100% sure that Billy didn't rule Kalen out of it.
Yep.
He just told him that particularly for the first game, he thought it was best for him and his welfare that he wasn't a part of game 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting how Billy is in his obviously second year of coaching, and it's almost a very unique challenge where not many Origin coaches, well, I mean, not many, but it doesn't happen often that you get this opportunity for a clean sweep, and it's a unique way of going. And you go into this one and you can lean very heavily on the fact that you can win a series, whereas it is going to be interesting to see a rookie coach handle that, I guess, different vibe, really.
Yeah, well, having already wrapped up the series, I think the way Billy will approach it, mate, is that it's not going to be, let's put the feet up in the slippers and let's relax for this preparation for game 3. I think he will go hard. I think he'll go harder than what he did in the first 2 games and say, let's make it 3-0. Like, why be satisfied with 2-0? And then potentially, give some sort of momentum or confidence back to New South Wales leading into 2024 if they win game 3 in dominant fashion, in particularly if Queensland don't turn up with the right attitude. Like, people call it a dead rubber, but I guarantee you both footy sides don't approach it that way. It's an Origin game there to be won. And I think he as coach will challenge the Queensland side to be even better than what they were in the first 2 matches.
Now, New South Wales, they're also in a really interesting position. Do they go in with, let's salvage pride here in the jersey, 2-1 loss, or do we give some jerseys out in hopes of building for the future? What do you reckon they'll do?
I think they'll give, on the most part, Kempy, I think they'll give the guys that were a part of the first 2 matches, I think they'll give them an opportunity again in game 3 to finish off and try and get a win. There'll be changes made and forced changes. Of course, they need a centre. Tom Trbojevic involved in the first 2 games, torn pec, but who takes that spot? Like, Latrell's been ruled out. I think Campbell Graham will come in and play in that position. Do they make changes to their bench? Possibly. I think there will be most definitely changes to their starting lineup. Like Cam Murray. Surely Cam Murray starts game 3. Has to. For
the life of me, I mean, from day dot this season, like I've been saying, Cam Murray needs to be on the field for as long as possible. Like, even if it's on the edge, he's an Origin player. Get him on the field to win those little moments that he wins.
And to say, like, I think there was some comments made about, the reason why he didn't go in the second half was just to, try and protect him. He's carrying a groin issue or whatever it was, carrying an injury. I don't understand what he's doing there then.
Yeah.
If he's not capable of starting and they're trying to protect him, like, what's he doing in the team? I understand he's an elite player. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But if he's not 100% fit, I just don't know what he was doing there in the first place. But that's that was decisions made by the New South Wales side, their selection team. They thought they could nurse him through it, and I think that's a lot of people were quite perplexed at him sitting on the bench for so long. He got on just before the 50th minute, which, when you think about Cam Murray, he's a guy that creates a lot of momentum with the football. He's a very strong defender. He's an awkward guy to get a hold of, and he gets quick play the ball. So he's a guy that makes a huge impact on matches. I just don't know. Yeah, I don't know, what they were thinking there. Does Atoi Kamanu keep his spot? Maybe not. He played 10 minutes.
Well, I kind of feel like you can't afford to burn another young forward that is coming through. Like you bring him in, gets 10 minutes, then he gets dropped. It's like, well, give this kid an opportunity to give him, longer, 20 minutes or so, to earn the jersey. But just on the Cam Murray decision, what surprised me even more is it was obvious to everyone. Dave Fafita's job was to run straight at hard at Mitchell Moses all night long.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, why not get arguably the best defensive player in the competition starting on that edge to combat that? I just don't understand that thinking. I understand you bring him on through the middle and he creates ruck speed, but he can do that. Plus, he can do so much more than that. In regards to Stefano, look, I personally think New South Wales can't afford to just burn another young forward coming through, because then that's another guy that one game, see you later, start all over again. I think that Olakawatu, I'd potentially bring him onto the bench.
Yep.
I'd go Tyson Frizzell, although, I don't think he played poorly at all. I just think that just due to his age and, the situation New South Wales are in, he's probably who would get replaced for me. Hudson Young would go to the bench. Liam Martin would start. Cam Murray would start. I'd actually start Murray in 13. Isaiah Yeo would either start on an edge or go to the bench. Cam Murray might be my 13 in Game 3 to see if that unlocked the attack for him.
What about the talk about Tedesco and Luai? Do they play? Do they get picked?
I personally think Tedesco, out of respect, 100% gets picked for what he has done for that jersey.
Yep.
I think that next year the jersey is completely up for grabs. There's no ownership on it of history. I think Luai, unfortunately, I just think for New South Wales, the Penrith ethos that they were trying to build around, it hasn't worked. And I would be going with Moses Hines in Game 3, and basically heading into next season, the Penrith ethos would no longer be what my plan was. Because the thing is this, if you go the Penrith ethos, Queensland know how you're going to play. They're going to play like Penrith. So they've got all this footage of going, this is how New South Wales play. Whereas Queensland, we don't know how Queensland are going to play, because there's no real ethos or core from any kind of club. It's just players selected to play Billy's game plan rather than, a Penrith one.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because in the pre-game in Adelaide, I had to do an opener with Channel 9, and I was on the panel with Gus Gould, and he actually mentioned the dangers in setting up your team, so your New South Wales team, just New South Wales or Queensland team, your State of Origin team, and building that game plan around a certain club game plan. And I actually thought that was quite interesting, coming from Gus saying, New South Wales need to be careful around, trying to be the Penrith Panthers. Because if you look at that first up match, Cleary was there in Adelaide with Luai, partner there, Isaiah Yeo. They brought back Api Coruscant, who had moved to the West Tigers but had played at Penrith and been successful with them over the past few years. And I just thought, it's interesting coming from a guy that has been involved with State of Origin for a long, long time and been a successful coach with New South Wales, to make those comments about the way the current team had been put together. And possibly with, the game plan being based around the way Penrith play, and sort of saying to Isaiah Yeo and Cleary and Luai and Api Coruscant, there you go, boys. Bring the Penrith game to our team, and it'll work.
Yeah, and I think that you saw Teddy really, really struggle to click with it. But we're going to head to a break. After the break, we got so much to talk about, including all your texts, 0457 736 736. We'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. Thanks to the SEN app. Download it today for free in the App Store. Listen anywhere, anytime. Smithers, Hole. Let's get to the best. I got ahead of myself. I was about to yell holy schnitz. I apologise, people. Smithers, best hands thanks to Schnitz.
Oh, best hands thanks to Schnitz. And I'll tell you what, Kempy, Schnitz is on the way.
Yes.
We're getting some today.
Holy schnitz.
Yes, Tom.
Thank you.
You're the man, Tommy.
First time this year, I think.
It feels like it.
Honestly feels like it.
It actually feels like it. No, we haven't. We've had it a couple of times, but it feels like it's been that long that this is the first time. Anyway, back to what we need to talk about. The best hands, thanks to Schnitz. 1 point went to Jack White, and he actually jumped over James Tedesco to score the opening try against the Roosters. The Raiders, the Green Machine, getting one up against the Chookies. 2 points, well, other side of the field this time. Joey Manu, he leapt above several opposition players to score his second try of the afternoon. But 3 points goes to Xavier Coates, and this is for dual matches, Kempy. So try he scored in State of Origin, unbelievable.
Wow.
But then he betted that. He betted that on the weekend against Manly Seagulls at Amy Park, where he jumped up, he did some sort of acrobatic move where he did the splits across the corner post and then got the ball down in the corner. It's just it's unbelievable. Unbelievable how these blokes do this. 3 points to Xavier Coates.
Was he like doing stretches in camp for the splits? Was he on the goal line just doing the splits, getting ready for ball catching?
No, which makes it even more incredible that these blokes are doing this. I never see him do it. I don't see them practice this stuff at training.
Wow.
It's just crazy. You never had to do that. You're way too fast.
I didn't play long enough to get a try like that, to be honest.
Okay.
Schnitz, bite into golden, delicious handcrafted schnitzels after the break. We'll wrap up the first hour. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Captain's Run. Let's get to some text, Smithy. Here's the first one. This came in before we even started talking. Hey, boys, you two biased Queensland better not downplay or make excuses for Walsh. The Whinger got exactly what he deserved. Hopefully he learns to keep quiet and just play footy. Got some more text here. Let's get down to some real fun ones. On the Walsh issue, there are under 10 matches past Suncorp before. Oh, I don't know. That doesn't make sense. But let's just say for people hoping that there was a lot of venting from New South Welshmen calling us biased Queenslanders, there's about 50 of those texts. So, here we go. Typical. You boys making excuses for his ill discipline. Come on, call it as it is. Should have owned the mistake, not worm out of it. Does not matter if ref heard or not. Don't talk like that at all. Period. Don't talk like that. Period.
Wow. Well, we did say that, didn't we? We touched on that.
Well, we did.
We said, look, it's not great, and he needs to be better.
For sure. Now we're going to head to a break. We haven't even gotten to Desi to the Titans. Seagulls signing spree. There is so much more to talk about. We will see you on the other side. Time now for everyone's favourite moment. Holy schnitz. Thanks to Schnitz. We just had, honestly, we've never had their chicken nuggets before. And you heard me choking earlier in the broadcast. I had six schnitz nuggets in my mouth. That's why I got greedy. I apologise to the listeners.
You mistimed that.
Yeah, I apologise. I got greedy.
Man. Do you know what happened then? And we've seen it on our text line. Our listeners have caught on it. You've come on and said, "Welcome back to bloke."
Oh, did I? Oh, no.
Mate, it's the Captain's Run.
Oh, sorry, Smithers. What about...
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Mate, talk about getting too big for your boots. Jeez Louise.
Mate,
apologies, mate. What was your holy schnitz moment of the week, mate?
Holy schnitz. I screamed holy schnitz when I looked at the scoreboard at halftime between the Eels and the Dolphins. 42 points.
Wow.
Kempy.
Wow.
Is that the most points, Tom, quickly, Statman?
I think it's the second most in history.
Is it?
Yeah, second most.
I was going to say just this season.
Oh, I think it's literally like the second in history.
Wow. So pretty impressive. They've put a few wins together, haven't they, the Eels? I think is it 5 or 6 straight victories now? 5.
Yeah.
5. Looking for 6 this weekend.
Mate, you know what's really interesting is that they actually, so I think they're sitting 5th or whatever they're sitting, they actually have the second best points differential in the comp.
Yeah, they're currently 7th.
Yeah.
But they've well, we talk about this all the time, eh? Like we talk about stringing some wins together, 3 or 4 wins, and that can just push you up that ladder so quickly.
And they've done it. Like last week, no Moses, no Brown. This week, no Brown. It's been no Sean Lane, no Brett Hodgson. No Hodgson, Josh Hodgson, Brett Hodgson. Oh, my God.
Hodjo. Wow.
I'm having a disaster here. Now, let's get my holy schnitz moment, Smithy.
Yes.
Dallin Watene-Zelezniak's 4 tries, 4 meat pies against the Dragons.
Yep, and looked unbelievable doing it.
Oh, that hair. Every time I see it, I yell, holy schnitz. What is he working with? Is it Pantene Pro V? Is it conditioner and shampoo all in one? I don't know, Smithers.
Well, have you seen the movie Coming to America?
Yes, I have.
Now, if you've seen the Sunday Footy Show, Freddie brought it up, but I was thinking at the night. So I called this game with Andrew Johns, and I was thinking of Coming to America. It's one of my favourite shows. A young fella, very funny. Eddie Murphy's in it. And they had this product called Soul Glow.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he looks like the character in Coming to America that uses Soul Glow. It's actually a little bit freakish how much they look alike.
Mate, his manager should reach out to hair, producers.
Some sort of product.
I think Manscaped do shampoo and that. Reach out, get a sponsorship, get it working, managers. Get some coin for the boys.
Whatever. Just get involved.
Got that winning taste right now. Schnitz, handcrafted schnitzels made fresh and made just for you. Look, after the break, we're going to get to your text because there's still a lot of abuse to get to. What are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, pretty ruthless decision there. Steve Mitchell, of course, CEO of the Titans, just making that decision. And the thing I'm I say this a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but most impressed by was that news of Des Hasler not getting out until Steve Mitchell announced that he was confirmed as coach for 3 years starting next season. Like, usually there's a few little murmurs and some whispers in the rugby league community, isn't there, Kempy? Like, you're right on top of all this stuff when all things are going down, but there was nothing. Just all of a sudden, we wake up, last Thursday, and Justin Holbrook has been told that he's no longer needed as head coach of the Gold Coast Titans, effective immediately, and Des Hasler was going to be the new coach. The only thing that was uncertain or unannounced was who was going to take over as head coach of the Titans for the remainder of this season. But it happened rather quickly, and I think Justin Holbrook he was caught unaware. I know Mal Meninga is one of Justin's advisors at the Gold Coast Titans. He was on SEN radio last week, and he also said he was blindsided by this decision. So he was kept out of discussions around Justin's future. But, the CEO, he explained about the football program, and it wasn't achieving what was set out to be achieved. There's obviously some KPIs and some agreements made around where the team needed to be, and I'd say to be around the amount of games that they needed to win this season before Justin's position as coach was reviewed. Justin Holbrook, I've seen some comments about him, which you can understand completely, was that he was a little bit frustrated that he didn't get, a bit of a warning or a chance, say, over the next fortnight to 3 weeks to have the opportunity to have a lot of their gun players were coming back. They've suffered some pretty big injuries this year. Their list has been quite large at times. So he was looking forward to the opportunity to having those key players come back and being on the field, and also the opposition that they were going to take on. Like they were going into the game against the Broncos, which they subsequently won. And I guess if Justin, let's say they give him an extra week and they won that game as coach, does he survive past last weekend? Like, do they give him to the end of the year? It doesn't seem so, given that they had the announcement ready to go for Des Hasler.
Yeah, it's tough for Justin Holbrook. The reports obviously are that there were some maybe potential KPIs, and look, you got to feel for Holbrook for sure. But let's just assume the reports are true. I got to respect the Gold Coast Titans' decision and the way they've done it, because not the way they've done it necessarily in him, not knowing it coming, but more the way they've done it in the sense of would have been very easy for them to go, we're sitting in ninth, we've got a bunch of players coming back from injury, let's give him a few more weeks. And then before you know it, they battle their way into the 8th or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're in between, sacking him and not sacking him at the end of the year. So I have a lot of respect for the Titans for going, no, we had this certain expectations, hasn't been met,
Yep.
and we're going to move in a strong direction towards Desi Hasler. I think that's good leadership. I really think it's good leadership. Again, taking out the human factor of Holbrook, from a purely club perspective, I think it's good, strong leadership.
And it's not, this hasn't just come about this year. Like, they started last year as well. Like, they started cleaning house similar time last year, maybe a little bit further into the season, where they moved on. I think, was it Jimmy Dimmick? They moved on from as an assistant coach at the club. Their man that was involved or in charge of their high performance unit, he was moved on before season's end as well. So they're looking to make changes, and they want to be an elite club. They want to be an elite club in this competition. They don't want to be a team that just lingers, around that sort of 8th, 9th, 10th position, or struggling in the bottom 8, just trying to fight for an opportunity to be in finals maybe for 1 week. They want to be a club that's pushing up the top, like their big brother up the road, the Broncos. Like, who are now sitting sort of equal top of the table. They want to be a club that are fighting for premierships. And I think they've done a pretty good job with their recruitment. Like, they've got some star players there at the moment. I'm sure Kieran Foran, I'm sure he had played some part in getting Desi up there, given his relationship that he shared with him over his career for a long, long time. And, as far as a replacement coach goes, well, there's probably none too better than Desi Hasler, particularly with the results that he's got for his sides that he's been involved with.
Yeah, it's Desi Hasler. I like the call of Desi Hasler because the Gold Coast it's almost the black hole for sporting franchises, regardless of the sport. It's like AFL, NRL, whatever you do, for some reason, the franchises just don't seem to see success. And the Titans, the good thing for them at the moment is, they're not the biggest club in the NRL and, all of that, but they are on the edge of success. They've got Tino Fa'asuamaleaui, who is, 16 or 17 clubs would sign him tomorrow if they could.
Yep.
Fafita, same situation in regards to his form right now. Moe Fotuaika, career best form. AJ Brimson, he may play game 3, current Origin player. Khan Pereira, young gun coming through. Then you got Ben Hunt that may join the club next year.
Yeah. And
all of a sudden you go, these hard, tough calls that were made. Like, for example, everyone bags the huge Fafita deal, and they say massive overs for it. Okay, if you want to have that argument as did he play to 1.2 million? Yeah, for sure, I could argue with that, and you say, yeah, maybe he didn't in the first couple of years. But it wasn't about the 1.2. It was about just getting him in the club so that you can attract other players, and then once he's in the environment, it's much harder for him to leave, and we've seen that now. He took a pay cut to stay. Tino's there, Brimo's there, and Ben Hunt may arrive, and we could see the start of something really great at the Titans.
Yeah. And the administration, Steve Mitchell being CEO, and I guess the board, they'd be right on top of exactly where the team's at the moment. Because if you look at this ladder, and I bang on about this all the time, about these 2 points for buys, it misrepresents exactly where your team is at the moment. So if you look at the ladder currently as it stands, you look at the Titans, you go, oh, well, they're 9th. Well, they're not that far out of it. They're actually sharing points with the Rabbitohs and the Eels on 20 competition points. But they've had 3 buys already, Kempy.
Yeah.
They're done for the season. Yeah. So there's no more breaks. There's no more breaks for them. There's no more opportunities for them to have a week off and rest up and recoup and maybe get some players back and, their bumps and bruises to settle down and get back into it. The Eels and the Rabbitohs, they've only had 1 bye. So they've actually got 4 points up their sleeve on the Titans. Whereas, there's several teams below the Gold Coast team, like the Cowboys. The Cowboys are on 18 competition points. They've had 1 bye. Dolphins below them, they're still owing a bye. Same with the Roosters, same with the Seagulls. Every other team below them in the bottom 8, apart from the West Tigers, still have a game up their sleeve. Cowboys have 2. So it really, it misrepresents exactly where that team's at the moment. If you look closely and take those bye matches out, they're probably sitting maybe 14th, 15th possibly. But at the same time, I must say, the Titans, they've blown some golden opportunities this year.
Oh, mate.
Golden opportunities. And you just think and go, well, if you'd won like that match against against the Dolphins, 24 blot they were. 24 blot. And they lose it.
Yeah.
I think they were winning similar situations in 3 other matches to start the year in the first sort of 8 to 10 rounds, and they lost those games. If they win 3 of 4, 3 of 4 of those games, maybe Justin Holbrook still has a job. It just shows how cutthroat this industry is.
It's there's one team you did forget though, Smithy. Yes, the mighty Brisbane Broncos. We've played 16 games, mate. We're out in our feet. And also, I just want to say, just quietly, we're just a struggling club up in Brizzy. And
struggling big time.
Mate, the judiciary made us miss our bloody flights last night. I want a refund. How are we going to pay for it? Mate, we're just battlers up in Brisbane. We're scraping coins together to get the boys down to Sydney, and then we miss our flight.
Mate, just get the change out of one of those pokie machines from the league's club. That'll sort the flights out.
Hey? Come on, Smithers. Come on, mate. Give us a fair shake. We're just
There's
battlers.
1,000 machines.
After the break, we're going to share our rising stars in the NRL thanks to Bailey Ladder. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. Time to see which young players are climbing up the Bailey Ladder. Workside trusted for over 60 years, Smithers.
60 years, Kempy. If you're in need of a ladder of any kind, go and grab a Bailey ladder. They will get the job done for you. Now, nominations for the young players climbing up the Bailey ladder. First one this week, Kempy. Jonah Pezzett from the Melbourne Storm. Playing against the Sea Eagles, of course, on the weekend. Amy Park, 20-year-old. He had 1 try, 1 line break assist, and 2 try assists. That's a big game. He come in late for Cam Munster, who had, what did he have? Caxtonitis.
Yep, a bit of ripping and tearing. Yeah, gets us all. It's got us all. It's got us all.
I think Alfie Langer was suffering from that. He still is, I think. Still in bed.
He's built up an immunity to it.
He listens.
He's honestly built an immunity to it.
Doesn't feel it?
Doesn't feel it anymore. He's just constantly got it.
He'll be in a hot bath listening to the Captain's Run. I guarantee you he loves them.
Mate, absolutely.
Second nomination, Albert Hopewadi of the Raiders against the Roosters. 22-year-old. He had 1 try, ran for 249 metres. Holy moly, holy schnitz. And had 2 line breaks. Well done, Raiders, the Green Machine. Another win. And last nomination from that. Whoa, it's going to be interesting when we get to this match, Kempy, but against your old boys. The Broncos, Loffy Khan-Pereira, 21-year-old. He had 1 try, ran for 200 metres and had 3 line breaks. What about that one he ran around Selwyn Cobbo?
Isn't it such a
How fast?
Well, that's what I was about to say, like a testament to speed still kills. Like it, if you've got a team that can give a guy space, it's just irreplaceable. You can be big, you can be strong, you can have the best footwork in the world. But if you've got a winger that can run and you give him space, far out, he was good.
Yeah, and Selwyn, like he showed him the sideline. He offered him that space, and he just went bang, like hit the pedal and just burnt him.
He said, "Thank you, thank you, and see you later." Khan-Pereira, really interesting because he's a try-scoring machine. Yes. But there was a period there where you were wondering, okay, he's got quite a few errors in his game, but I think he's really starting to round that out of his game. Sorry.
Yes.
And like it's going to be, let's say they do get Ben Hunt. Let's say the Titans do get Benny Hunt. I mean, a Ben Hunt foreign partnership with potentially Brimo or Ben Hunt, Campbell Graham. If the kid can continue on his trajectory, think about the tries he's going to score in his career.
Yeah, crazy.
Because he's just
crazy, mate.
He's just one of those guys that has a knack for getting to the try line. Somehow, some way, he finds a try line. A bit similar to Josh Adokar.
Yeah, and let's not forget, like he's got blinding speed. He's got natural ability out there on the wing. But the guys doing the work on the inside to preserve space for speed. That's where a lot of the stuff happens, and that's where Josh Adokar, he struggled in his first season with the Bulldogs, and when Trent Barrett was the coach there, he spoke about how guys inside him weren't really helping him out. When you know you've got some speed to burn on the edge, you should be concentrating on the work in the middle of the field to give those guys space to use their speed to run around their defenders.
Yeah, otherwise it's like almost pointless in selecting them. You may as well get a meter eater on the wing
Yep.
and get him in there for hit-ups. Now, let's get to some really, really good texts here. Please take the bias out of your reporting. Walsh has been carrying on like a twat and Butler. And Butler mentioned
A
that...
what? He's carrying on like a what?
A twat. And Butler mentioned that Adam Reynolds at halftime, the doubt is about the referee who did not action the situation straight away and sin bin or send Walsh off. Plus, put in his report. When you go through the comments, it was directed at referee. Okay.
Right.
Okay, right, yeah. Hey, fellas, Jackson here. If Walshy was a New South Wales player, he would have been free to play. Question mark. Thoughts?
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Possibly not.
Now, really, another ad break? You boys have the easiest job in the world. Do a 3-hour shift and only have to talk for an hour and a half of it. Love the show, but Dom from Buxton.
Good on you, Dom.
My God, Smith, your 20-minute of biased dribble is putting me to sleep. Remember the show Queenslanders Only on Fox? How far did that go? Cheers, Daniel. P.S. Queenslanders are flogs. Oh, yeah.
I love this. How good? Like, this is just because Origin's on. I
it's
love
so
it.
good. So good.
This part of the year, Kempy, is just New South Welshmen dislike Queenslanders. Queenslanders dislike New South Welshmen. It's good fun. We love it.
Mate, it's
we love
so
it.
good. Here's the last one. I like this one. Come on, boys. Your Queensland propaganda machine is in full swing here.
What?
Walsh was warned multiple times by the ref. The ref told his captain at halftime he needs to stop challenging every decision. Flegler ran in straight away to him to move away from the rest. Why, if said to Paddy? Anyway, I just love the propaganda machine. Apparently, we're a bigger propaganda machine, overthrowing governments.
What? Well, it didn't help with the judiciary last night. Maybe we need to move judiciary to Brisbane.
Yeah.
That might help this.
Yeah, that might help.
Yeah.
Maybe we'd have got the vote then. Anyway, we're going to head to a break. After the break, we're going to get to your texts and calls, and also we're going to begin our round 18 preview. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. Let's get some texts here. Hey, Kempy, if you fail your HI on air, do you have to sit out next week's show? You've got more players' names wrong than right today, and you don't even know. It's not. I can't even see the full text here. Yeah, you've got more players' names wrong than right today, and you don't even know what show you're hosting. You just subconsciously said Campbell Graham instead of Jaden Campbell. You know what's crazy? That's the first mistake I've ever made. That is wild. That is absolutely wild. Jeff, you caught me, mate. You got me. You got me.
Oh, they're onto us today.
Oh, mate. Jeez,
they're onto
us. Here's another one. Afternoon, gents. What's the best bet? Ponga comes in for game 3. Gets man of the match just to make things really interesting for Billy next year and for Mal in the Kangaroos this year. Timmy, what do you reckon, Smithers?
Oh, yeah, it's a big one. Depending on how he goes this week, of course, and the conversation that Billy will have with Kalen about playing in game 3. It all depends on that. Also, got to take into account too. AJ Brimson was a part of the group in game 2. Was 18th man, so he's been around the Origin, but no one can forget, and no one will ever forget, the work that Kalen Ponga did last year, particularly in Game 3. So if he's up for it, might be KP with the headgear and the number 1 jersey. Game 3, Kempy.
How scary the fact that you could bring in a guy like KP. Wow. We're going to head to a break. I'm going to get sacked, and then there'll be a new host here on the other side. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. We are here for Chemist Warehouse. Head into Chemist Warehouse for great savings every day and Spitwater. Spitwater high-pressure cleaners, tools, not toys, tough and ready. Sharks vs Dragons, Thursday, 7:50 at PointsBet Stadium. Sharks team news, no changes to the teams that beat the Bulldogs in round 16. Toby Rudolph is named in the reserves and could play. Dragons, Hunt has been named to play. Sully, Bird are both out. Moga starting at centre. Murdoch Masilla starts at the second row. How do you see this playing out, Smithers?
Yeah, I called the game last week, the Dragons v the Warriors, and they were, it was a messy game, right? It was a messy game the first 40 minutes. The Warriors weren't great either, but then they kicked away second half. They played some pretty good footy. The Dragons, though, their defence out wide, they just, I don't know, they looked a little bit lost. They looked like they lacked a little bit of commitment. They were making fairly good decisions, right? So when the Warriors came with their long shifts and they were playing out the back to those sweep runners, like they made good decisions to come out and jam, but then they didn't commit themselves to make the tackle, Kempy. And we all know, particularly yourself, defending out wide as a winger, if you make a decision to come in to stop the football, you actually got to meet the man with the ball and shut the ball down. Every time the Dragons, chose to shoot out of the line and to come and try and stop the ball, they looked like they were half committed to what they decided to do, and the Warriors just went around them. Hence the 4 tries to Wateni Zelezniak in the end, and then they went down the other edge as well. The Warriors and scored tries. So that I'd like to think that they've addressed their defensive issues. The coach and the captain both come out and said that was an embarrassing performance, particularly when it was Jack de Bellin's his 200th game. It's a fair milestone.
Yeah. For
a guy that's been there for a long time, and they just did not turn up. I'd like to see some sort of response from them this week. Couple of injuries. Moses Sully, well, he had a head knock. Jack Bird, he looked like he was carrying some sort of lower leg sort of foot injury for the most part of that game. So they got some fit players back in it. Sharkies, look, where are the Sharks at right now? They're sitting 4th, right? They've had 3 buys. I know, and we have to continue talking about this. I'm boring the listeners here now, but they're sitting high on the ladder with all their buy points. They got 6 points for buys. I don't know if they're actually a top 4 team right now. I don't think they are. I don't think they are. And I'm not going to go off. I'm not taking too much of their recent form because the last game they played was against the Dogs. Of course, they had last week was a bye round for them. And previous to that Dogs game, they got smashed by Melbourne, and they just, I don't know, they didn't look anywhere near a top 4 footy side. So, this is I reckon it's a bit of a danger game myself for the Sharkies,
mate. Derby, local derby as well. And in regards to the Sharkies, the problem that they face them with, basically from a season perspective, is until they play a top 4 side, they'll always be questioned. Guys, when you get up against a top 8 side, you struggle. And I think that they're 0 from 6 when it comes to playing top 8 sides this year.
Wow.
Get Tommy to check that maybe for us. But I'm pretty sure they're 0 from 6 in playing top-tier sides. So they're in this really tough spot of, even if they go out and win every match, because their draw for the next 3 weeks, I think, is purely bottom-tier sides. Even if they go and win every match convincingly, there'll still be this maybe subconscious, maybe conscious. We haven't beaten the top tier sides, guys. So we don't know where we're really at. Their first real test, I think it's the Warriors in maybe 3 or 4 weeks. Now the Warriors are currently a top 8 side, but I need to see the Sharkies against the Panthers, against the Broncos at full strength. The Storm, obviously, they've just played them and got towed up, but against the Storm again. Even the Rabbitohs playing good footy. That's their biggest concern, is when they get up against the top tier sides, they don't just lose. They get beaten quite convincingly in most cases.
And that was the most part of last year as well. They didn't do so well against the top teams last year, and I guess that was a direct reflection of how they left the competition as well. They went out in straight sets. Golden opportunity they gave themselves with the first round of the semi-finals, playing at home against North Queensland, and they bombed it. They bombed it, and then which forced them into backing up the following week, and they were just bundled out easily. So that's where I'm thinking with. I'm just unsure about exactly where this team's placed at the moment. Are they a top 8 side? Yeah, I'd say they're a top 8 side, but I think they're a little bit off being a top 4 team at the moment.
Also, Tommy's found for us, they've only one win against a current top 8 side, but that was the Eels when this was round 2, and we all know the Eels started the season not a top 8 side. So basically, they're yet to beat a side that's in the top 8 when they're playing them.
Wow, that's pretty damning stat, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really concerning for the Sharkies, and I think it would be so frustrating for fans because we can all see it. When it clicks, we can all go, wow, this is a team that could go toe-to-toe with everyone. But the problem is when they do get toe-to-toe with the top-tier sides, they just don't seem to be able to keep the same energy in the game that they do against the teams that are a bit lower. In regards to the Dragons, boys, backs against the wall. If you don't have enough motivation now, what are you playing rugby league for?
Yeah.
You know, everyone's writing you off. Everyone's talking smack. You know, although it would hurt a little bit to hear Hunt wanting to leave, I'm sure all those boys love Benny, care about Benny, and would maybe understand his situation. This is a setup. This is a setup for a great win. They're paying $670 apparently at the moment.
$670
head to head.
Oh, I just think for the Dragons, like, you're sitting last on the table. You know, you need to get out there and just have a little bit of pride in your performance. Really, that's all it comes down to. Like, do you enjoy sitting on the bottom of the ladder? Do you enjoy looking at that ladder, you know, hearing comments from people about, you know, your performances and lack of, you know, sort of effort at times in your matches? Like, you know, last week, the coach and the captain, as I said earlier, they come out and said it was embarrassing. They actually apologised to their fans for the way they played. So, you know, if there was ever a game or a week that they're going to try and turn that around and respond, it's got to be this weekend. It's got to be this weekend against the Sharks.
Now, our same game multi, SEN League's same game multi. Now, I just want to say, first of all, I didn't put this together, so don't get angry at me. Don't get angry at me if it doesn't go on. No, all jokes aside. SEN League same game multi for this game. Sharks 13 plus, Katoa 2 plus tries, Nakota anytime try scorer. That gets you $9.25. SEN League same game multi. Now let's get into the Warriors v the Rabbitohs. Friday 6 p.m. at Go Media Stadium, Auckland. Go Media Stadium. What? Is that like a new name? Oh, well, there we go. Go Media. Okay. They're making moves over there in New Zealand. Warriors team news. Mitch Barnett returns from suspension and replaces the suspended Murata Niokora. Rabbitohs team news. Cheekham replaces suspended host at second row. Havili and Mitchell join the bench. How do you see this, Smithers?
Look, I think the Warriors at home, Kempy, I'm really impressed with the way they're playing at the moment. They look very happy. They look very confident. You know, watching Sean Johnson go about his business, particularly in his second half last week, was really impressive. He's playing some great footy. It's been reported already, you know, like he's playing some of the best football that he's played in his career. I was actually playing against him when he was, you know, through that period of, you know, 2011, 12, 13. He actually took the Warriors to a grand final in 2011 where when he's confident, he takes on the opposition through, you know, running the football, you know, his kick chase game, you know, his willingness to, you know, throw a long ball and back himself to throw a long ball. It's all there at the moment for Sean Johnson. And I think, you know, whether he's feeding off, you know, some of the other guys at the moment or they're feeding off him, but it looks like they've got a really good balance at the moment and a really good feel within their group. And what they're doing is they're embracing the challenge of when they travel away from New Zealand, traveling away from their home ground and taking on, you know, the teams over here in Australia and just embracing that road trip and getting those tough victories. So going back home, particularly against the Rabbitohs, who are just, mate, I don't know what's happened to the Rabbitohs. Well, I'll tell you what's happened. They've forgotten how to defend. That's what they've done. Well, that was super impressive in the opening, 10 rounds of this year, where I think they only conceded maybe, it was a tick over 100 points. It might have been 130, roughly about 130 points, right, in the first 10 rounds. They've conceded that in the last 5 games.
Yeah.
I think.
Wow.
And so they went on that little run there where they'd won 6 games in a row, and everyone's, you know, started talking about, well, look at this Rabbit side, impressive. You know, a lot of people had them as possibly going all the way to a grand final, you know, premiership contender. They lost the game where they were looking to go 7 straight against Parramatta, and Parramatta put 30 on them that night. Like, it was a convincing win, and they scored early. Since then, Kempy, they've lost 4 of their last 5 games. And I think they've averaged, over those 4 matches, they've conceded like nearly 30 points every game. So, you know, there's a lot spoken about their attack and how lethal they can be at times, like their right edge and their left edge are very good, very good. And they look classy, you know, when they get their attack on. But it's their lack of defence that is costing them right now.
Yeah, so Tommy's just reaffirming your point, Smithers. From round 1 to 11, they conceded 13.6 points a game, which was second in the comp to Penrith Panthers. From round 11 to 17, they have conceded 32.8 points a game.
There you go.
Wow.
There you go.
Wow.
This occasion, the numbers don't lie. And I tell you, they paint the picture, don't they?
They really, really do. And I got to say, I don't think the Rabbitohs are out of it by any stretch. I think they definitely still can be a premiership threat. But I do think what a missed opportunity this month of rugby league has been for them, because they head into, I think, 2 buys. They were playing outside of Para. I think they were basically playing either teams that weren't in the 8 or teams that were out of form. They had a big opportunity to, at the very least, cement themselves in the top 4, but minor premiership as well. It was there for them. If you check their run home from that point on where they were sitting at top of the table, and I think the 2 or 3 buys they had coming up, they really had an opportunity. They'd got all the hard work done at the start of the year. They'd essentially, you would argue they had the hardest start of any club to the season. They played all the big dogs, got it all out of the way, and then they get to the middle of the year, and it's there to set themselves up for a potential minor premiership, and just completely collapses inwards. It's very, very surprising.
Yeah, it's been some sort of mini capitulation, really, hasn't it? And I don't know, mate. There's a few factors that may have contributed to that. Like, they've had a few injuries, particularly Latrell Mitchell. He spent a fair bit of time off the paddock now. I think it's something like, is it 4 games that he's missed? 4 games for the Rabbitohs, the last 4. I don't think he's played for them.
It'll end up being 8 weeks since injury when he comes back.
Yeah, there you go. So it's an extended period of time. Maybe is it a factor of too that they played so many games consecutively without a bye, whereas all these other sides, they had an opportunity to have a break, they got a rest, they come back fresh. There were some clubs that actually had 2 byes.
Yeah. Before
the Rabbitohs had their first, which I for the life of me, I don't understand why. Maybe that had something to do with it as well. The positive for them, and they've dropped all the way down to 8th, like they're nearly dropping out of the top 8, is that they banked those wins early. They banked a lot of wins early, and they've got a couple of buys up their sleeve. And I think they've got a few matches coming up against teams quite low on the ladder, which you would expect them to win.
Yeah.
But they can't. If you're a Rabbitohs fan, don't just think that's going to get you home.
Yeah.
A couple of buys and playing some teams down below. Like this footy side, they need to have a good discussion about where they've been in the last month to 5 weeks, the things that haven't worked so well for them, and change them quickly. And quite easily, the first one is their defensive systems and what's going wrong in that part of their game.
All right, after the break, we're going to continue our Round 18 preview. Up, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Captain's Run. Let's preview our game of the round thanks to Suncorp. Building a more resilient Queensland, that's the Suncorp spirit. It's the mighty Storm versus the Penny Panthers, Friday, 8 p.m. at Marvel Stadium. Storm team news. Cameron Munster recovers from Caxonitis to return at 5'8", in the only change. Panthers teams, all of Penrith's Origin stars return to the starting side. Smithers, what do we reckon?
Yeah, big one, this one. Playing at Marvel Stadium, Kempy.
How good.
So under the roof. A little bit wet down in Melbourne at the moment, so the roof will be closed. I think they'll get that pitch. It'll be a nice dry pitch for both of these footy sides to get out there and try and play a little bit expansive. I think for the Storm, knowing that Penrith, they are out and out the best defensive side in the competition at the moment. So I think they'll be trying to use the footy a fair bit, and early in the game they might try and move them side to side. Maybe a couple of early kicks from Hughes and Munster might try and turn their wingers around, just keep them on notice. But Penrith, like they just keep producing, don't they? Like they rested all of their Origin players last week, and they still come up with a victory. It was against the Knights, who like they're not doing so well this year, but still, when you're missing 4 or 5 of your best players, and still come up with a victory. And I just want to give one of their players a rap, Tyrone Peachy. I thought he was outstanding. Couple of try assist, a line break assist. Like, he was so good. And then this week you can't even find I don't think he's on like the extended bench.
Yeah.
Can't even find a spot in the top 17. So, it just shows the system that they have there at the moment. The game plan that they have, where One player steps out, the next player comes in, and they just fill that void and play their role for the footy side, and they get the things done. So this is going to be a real tight one. I'm siding with Melbourne being at home in front of their home crowd. This will be a pretty big crowd too Friday night at Marvel. They've started to just, slowly and in some ways under the radar creep up this ladder. Like they're equal first right now.
Yeah.
They're sitting third, on for and against, but they've crept slowly up this ladder to be equal with both the Broncos and the Panthers on 24 points. So, I think might go down to Golden Point. No, I think Storm will win it in regular time, maybe by a couple of points, 2 or 4 points for me.
Yeah, what a clash. What a clash. I mean, it's first I wanted to give massive raps to Penrith, and I don't think it's been, a sign of, I guess, a good club is when you don't really hear much about the staffing or the admin or whatever. And look, it's very easy to say that when you've had so much success, but let's just take stock here. 2 years ago, it was because Trent Barrett was the assistant coach, and that's why Nathan Cleary was playing really well. Trent Barrett leaves the club. They continue on their run. Then it was Cameron Ciraldo. He's the reason. He's got an ear to the young players. He brought them all through. He leaves the club. Webster leaves the club. Their coaching staff has had a complete clean out, and they are still at the tippity top of the comp. I think Ivan Cleary doesn't get enough raps for what he is achieving right now at the Penny Panthers. I think it's amazing what he's managing to get out of these players. Like a guy like Peachy. Like, who thought Peachy had that game in him still?
Yeah. And I think, when you're talking, I mentioned before about, players coming out and new players coming in and just nothing changes. I think the same with the coaching staff. I think there's just an expectation on this football group, and I'd say to be the whole organisation at Penrith right now, is that no matter, how experienced you are, how many games you've played, how long you've worked in a certain position in your field at that organisation, there's an expectation that you go there and you do your job, you play your role the best you can every day you're at work. And you can see that. You can see that when they go out and play their football, is that everyone understands their role and they work extremely hard at it. So come game time, there's no confusion as to what's expected of you. They just go and get their job done.
Yeah, mate. And onto the Storm, from my perspective, I think they've found their mojo. And their mojo, in my opinion, is Nelson Asofa-Solomona being on the field for as long as possible. Now, Tim, the great Tim from our Monday review podcast on Bloke in a Bar, a few weeks ago, he said, look, I just need Nas to be on the field more because it seems like they're just such a different side. Ever since then, if Nelson Asofa-Solomona plays more than 50 minutes, Storm are 5 from 5. In the games where he plays less than 50 minutes, I think they've lost, like, they're, 1 from 4 or whatever. It's not a good record. And so I just think that because the depth of forwards at the moment at the Storm, it's slowly growing and it's all new people. So it's going to take some time. But right now it's quite shallow in my opinion. So Nelson on the field just gives you the momentum that you were lacking without Pappenhausen, without Cheese. He has replaced Cheese's ability to get that quick ball rolling so that Harry Grant can get out of dummy half. Cameron Munster can be on the front foot. And also, since Nelson has gotten on the more minutes, Jerome Hughes is completely unlocked. He's starting to play his best footy. And so if Nelson can stay fit for the rest of the year, and then you get Kamikamica back with Christian Welsh not tired from Origin, I think the Storm are a premiership threat this year, and I think they've snuck up on everyone.
Yeah, I think that's a key to Melbourne's success this year, is that trying to get some big men consistently on the park, and I think that 1-2 punch of Asofa-Solomona and Kamikamica, having those guys there to create momentum for guys like Harry Grant and Jerome Hughes, those two players in particular, it's the way they like playing. They like playing on the front foot. They like playing fast. They like getting Harry Grant out of there. He's a runner. He's a natural runner of the football. That's the strongest part of his game. And then when he gets forward and they all follow, then that's when Hughes and Munster all jump on board with that. So, I think, as you said, mate, the result of bigger minutes for Asofa-Solomona has resulted in some positive results for Melbourne. This is going to be a great game, though.
Yeah.
Great game, because no matter what you throw at Penrith, like they find a way to turn you away from their goal line. They just find a way. They know how to do it. And there could be some big, not big because a loss to either one of these sides doesn't see them really drop too far down the ladder. But the winner, I guess, will be leading the comp after this round.
They'll really separate themselves, I think. You know what I mean? Like they'll be the out and out. Like this is the team that is really pushing for a premiership. I know Penrith are obviously missing Cleary. Also, just quietly, if I was a half marking Nas, I'd needle both shoulders before playing. I'd say, Coach, my shoulders are good, but I don't want to feel a thing. If I get knocked out, I just get knocked out.
Mate, where like if he hits a hole like he did on the weekend, right, and you're defending as that half where Schuster was, where are you hitting him? High, up around the ball, or are you going around the legs?
I'm trying to time it so as he goes past me, I chop him. But let's just
get behind him and hold the jersey and ankle tap.
Look, let's just mark it down for a missed tackle, all right, Smithy? I did my best.
Oh, right.
It's not going to happen. I didn't know how to tackle from the wing at the best of times. Big Nas run at me, no chance. That's our game of the round, thanks to Suncorp. Make sure you're Queensland covered. Search Suncorp Insurance for a quote today. That's the Suncorp spirit. After the break, Raiders v Titans. Welcome back to the Captain's Run. Let's get into it. Raiders v Titans, Saturday, 3 p.m, GIO Stadium. Smithers, what do you reckon?
Yeah, good matchup this one, Kempy. Both teams, they'd be pretty happy with themselves over the weekend. The results going their way. The Titans getting the job done against their big brother, the Broncos, and the Raiders. Well, they knocked over the Chookins. Look, I think Raiders. I think Raiders at home. The Titans going down to Canberra to play this one. Their away form this year is, I think they've had 3 losses, 5 wins. 3 wins, 5 losses away from home. So they haven't got a positive record away from home, and I think this is pretty hard. Like if the Raiders get in that style of footy that we talk about a lot and really just drag the Titans down and slow them down, Titans want a fast game of footy. They want to be able to use the football. They want to shift it. They want to go wide and then play footy back through the middle, interchanging of passes with their middlemen. Big Tino coming back will help that. But I think if the Raiders have the ability to slow them down and play the game at their pace, I think they win it. Makes it a little bit harder without Papali'i though, hamstring injury. But yeah, I'm tipping Raiders at home.
I'm torn on this one. I'm torn because the Titans that turned up last week were phenomenal. They were really good. Now, your Broncos, certain things didn't go their way, but the Titans really, really showed grit. And the kind of form that a guy like Fafita's in, and then they get Tino back, Brimo fighting for a spot at fullback. Initially, I think I picked the Raiders, but the more I look at this Titans side, and I just feel like it may have galvanised them, the loss of Holbrook. They just... Put it this way, on the weekend, we saw them play the kind of footy we've hoped that the Titans can play. So I'm really torn. I will say from a Raiders perspective, geez, they love a dogfight, don't they? They can't help themselves.
They do.
They love it.
And mate, you look at a few of their players, right? It's a reflection of the players. And maybe that's part of why they get recruited to this club. Like you look at, Wolford, Horsburgh, Jack Wyden. They love that, like Rapana. They love that style of footy, just getting rough and, just upsetting the opposition and getting a little bit, under the skin of the other team. And they love that stuff. Maybe, Sticky's rubbed off on them, obviously, but that's the way he played. He was a little bit more verbal than the physical part of it. But I don't know. Like I look at this Canberra side, like not one player has played Origin. So they're not dealing with, playing multiple games in succession. They've just gone week to week. And talking about, Brimo sort of lining up for an opportunity to play State of Origin. Well, guess what? The number 13 for Canberra.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, the big red dog, Corey Horsburgh. He's a chance too with Flegler being out. So he was part of the camp last game. He was 19th man for Queensland. I'm sure he'll be in for a big one to impress Billy as well.
Mate, the day I saw him in tears, he was so passionate on a footy field a few years ago. I fell in love with the big red. And seeing him in a Queensland jersey, it just looks right. You know what I mean? Just the big red steaming. I
think Fatty Vaughan's been pushing for him.
Yeah. He
wants him in there.
Mate, get him in there. All right, Cowboys.
Red fella.
Cowboys versus Tigers. How do you see this playing out, Smithers?
Well, the Cowboys. How good are they going?
Are they back or what?
Are they back? I don't know. Yeah, maybe. They've been playing some pretty good footy over the last sort of 3 weeks. I think they're going to be too strong for Tigers. Although Tigers are, what was it, a month ago? 5 weeks? 60 points, Kempy.
Oh, my God. Holy schnitz.
Yeah, no Jason Taumalolo against them that previous time. He's named an 18th man this week.
Apparently he was supposed, they reckon like hamstring 2 to 4 weeks, and he's made a miraculous recovery.
Yeah, so they're keeping the same side. They had their Origin players back up and play against the Rabbitohs last week, and they all played well. Val Holmes was good. Drinkwater's in some really good touch at the moment. Dane Laurie playing 5'8" for the Tigers. I think Cowboys too strong. Too strong at home particularly.
I think the Cowboys, it's looking like they found their groove. Scotty Drinkwater. I've said this earlier in the week. I know there are fullbacks ahead of him in regards to New South Wales, but on a selection table, I believe that his name should be there for New South Wales next year if he continues his form. Yeah. Yes, he's a little bit different to the prototype that they've been going with for a while now with your Teddy, obviously. You got Minicello, who was, really good in contact. Yep. But, maybe they do need a different angle of fullback. I would say Scotty Drinkwater is more of a ball-playing fullback. And in Origin, that it's all about the little spacing. It's not really about the physicality in the sense that they're both teams are tippity-top physical athletes. But it's the mind that gets the points. We watched Reece Walsh, the way he could strip numbers, DCE, Munster. And I just think that although he's not at the top of the pecking order, I think that they should begin to just have him on the table, Scotty Drinkwater. I really do. Currently sitting second in the comp for try assists, averaging, I think, about 1.2 a game, beaten only by Cody Walker. So if you're a team that has field position but you're struggling for points, get a guy that gets try assists. Anyway, just my thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, that's obviously next year. Tedesco will finish with game 3, and we'll see what happens next year. What about this game, the last one on Saturday? Broncos v. the Dolphins, and it's at the Gabba, Kempy. What's going on with your boys?
Mate, huge test. Now, this can be a blessing or a curse, this whole situation, because they find themselves without Walsh, Ricky, and Flegler. Now, Tristan Saylor was outstanding in his club debut. Palacia, we know how good he can be. He's actually off to the Titans next year, so another great signing for the Titans. Yep. Xavier Willison, he's been a young gun coming through for quite a while. I actually think that this may be a little bit of a blessing in the sense that it just takes away that edge that Broncos had in regards to relying on talent rather than game plans. We saw on the weekend too many players, and Reece Walsh specifically, trying to take the game into their own hands rather than trusting in a game plan. And I think that maybe with Ricky, Flegler, and Reece Walsh out, it might just take that confidence a little bit away from it and go, okay, let's fall back on what Reynolds wants us to do in a game plan and get the points by grinding it out rather than just forcing it due to our, incredible talent. What do you think, mate?
Well, listen, I'm a bit concerned.
Okay.
All right. The Broncos, they've got eight games to go, Kempy. There's a similar situation to last year where this team, they started to slide. And I need to ask you, can you see that happening again this year? Because last year, it was a couple of injuries, a suspension to Pat Garrigan. Now, ironically, there's a 3-week suspension to Reece Walsh, which has been one of their main men playing in the 1 jersey. And now we've got long-term injuries, Jordan Ricky and also Tom Flegler.
Look,
is this the beginning of a slide? Or do you think they've learned from last year? They can handle what's happening with few personnel and they'll get through it?
Look, I think I see your point, Smithers. I see it. But I just think that the game against the Warriors showed me that there's more to this footy side this year than there was last year. Yep. I think that also the grittiness they've showed at times this year, I didn't really see that last year. So you're right. It's concerning. It really is. And that's why I said it could be a blessing or a curse. This could be a disaster or it could galvanise the boys. They play a bit more conservative rugby league and they stick to a game plan. The positive is, though, is we still have Paddy, Reynolds and Haas. And any team with those 3 players in it should be making the top 8. That's how
Yep.
good these guys are.
Yep. I'm backing them this week. Even though they've got the Dolphins, they've got a handy player in this week, Jeremy Marshall-King. He comes back to the dummy half role. Even though I thought, Nick Arima, he had some pretty good touches last week. He'll make a big difference to that Dolphins outfit. I think the Broncos bounce back and they win it.
I hope so. Dolphins, I think that Jeremy Marshall-King, so underrated how much he arguably could be one of the
the buys of the year.
He's definitely one of the buys of the year. But we talk about how important Appy is to the Tigers, how important Cookie is to the Rabbitohs. Jeremy Marshall-King is equally as important to the Dolphins.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Now we're going to head to a break. After the break, we continue our preview of round 18. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. Bulldogs v the Knights, 2 p.m. at Core Stadium. Smithers, what do we reckon?
Well, the Newcastle Knights, they were brave against Penrith. Went down 20 points to 12, but, liking what I'm seeing from this footy side at the moment, and, they're under pressure. They're under pressure to perform and get results, and the coach is under pressure too. This might be an opportunity for them to relieve some of that pressure off their own shoulders against the Doggies. The Doggies are just, they're I don't know, they're in a bit of a hole at the moment. I think, they're coming off a bye though, so at least they've had a chance to sort of maybe reset a little bit and, re-energise themselves and get themselves up for this one. I think Knights though. As we spoke about, Kalen Ponga, he could, really play himself into a Maroons jersey for Game 3. He'll be out for a big one. I think the Knights get this one against the Doggies on Sunday.
Now, Smithy, we're about to break a record. Listeners, are you ready for this?
Yes.
I disagree with you, Smithy.
I
disagree.
Really?
I was super
Why
disappointed
is that,
with the Knights. Super disappointed with the Knights last week. I was disappointed because your season's on the line, your coach is under fire, and you complete at 62%.
Yeah, that's true.
There's grit and they work hard, but come on, you got to be better than that against an understrength Penrith side. I just think that they owe the fans owe themselves because I agree with you in regards to they've shown so much grit and fight this year.
Yep.
They really have, and it was just such a letdown that they go to Penrith with the season on the line, their coach's job basically on the line, and 62% completion rate. That's so poor.
And that can be that coupled with their ill discipline. They gave away 6 penalties as well.
Oh,
So that doesn't help your cause. Against the side, we've already spoken about them before, against the side that's well drilled and they all know their roles in Penrith. So then they're two. If they fix those 2 areas this week, I think they win. I think they come away with a comfortable victory, actually.
Oh, no, I agree with you there. I do think that the Knights get the job done because the positive in that silver lining of disappointment is these are fixable things, as you just said. You can fix your completion rate, you can fix your errors, you can fix your discipline. You can't fix ticker. And the one thing that the Knights have shown this year, at least from probably round 4 onwards or whatever, is a lot of grit. So I think that they'll bounce back this week. In regards to the Bulldogs, look, I know Bulldogs fans are getting super impatient, and I get comments all the time about, "Oh, Kempy, how long are we going to wait? We got to wait." But I said before the season started, not only with this massive injury toll they've struggled with, but the Bulldogs were never going to be ready this year to make a top 8 push, in my opinion. It's always going to be looking towards 24 and 25. What do you reckon about the Doggies?
Yeah, I think it's a slow process, isn't it? And, fans want wins straight away. They want results straight away, but it's a lot harder than that. It takes time to, particularly players coming from other clubs, to adjust and learn the traits of what the current coach is after. And it takes time. Like Penrith didn't all of a sudden become the benchmark of the competition. They actually struggled for a little bit. Same with the Roosters before they won their back-to-back competitions. They finished dead last, didn't they? Not long before they had that turnaround in fortunes and form. They finished bottom of the ladder around 2015 or 2016, something like that. And I think I'm right when I say that.
People were calling for both Cleary's head.
Yeah, that's right. So it takes a little bit of time, but when it clicks, it it can be really, really good.
Mm.
So just stick with your team.
Yeah,